This is your look behind the scenes as we unpack intra-household conflict and Daisy and Duke's case plan with Cammie.
The assessment, we talked a little bit about, and when I say we, I mean Jerri and I. Jerri and I discussed that, there obviously was conflict between Daisy and Duke for always, right? And it was something that just seemed to be like a mismatched preference just due to their personalities, right?
Mhm.
But it was the corrections and her response to his just Duke mostly just being Duke, right? Just being a goofy guy, and she's like not having it. And I think it's one of those where she was, and I hate to simplify it down to a word that's going to seem as cavalier as this one, but I really think Daisy was just annoyed, right? Like that's where it probably started, was she was super annoyed, and it started with "get off, leave me alone, get off, leave me alone," right? And but when that isn't listened to over time, right? It's going to be "get off, leave me alone." Get off, leave me alone. And at a certain point, I'm throwing bows, right? Like I'm gonna make sure that my boundaries are respected. So I
Yeah.
do think that the core of where this started, we didn't have like a resource issue. It wasn't like one was reacting and then they redirected on one another. It seems like it was just that she was really annoyed and her boundaries weren't being respected.
Mhm.
So we definitely want to, in order to safely reintegrate them, because even though it is from our perspective, it is Duke's behavior that is the first kind of domino to tick over, right? To tip over. But Daisy's escalation is where safety becomes an issue. So that's why the muzzle training is, I think, more important.
Muzzle training is important, I think, for both of them. And it's a skill that we're going to continue to do for both of them because we would never want to have a situation where, I don't know, if like Duke was getting nibbly with her, you know what I mean? Or in some way to where she would be more restricted than him.
And him. Yeah.
But I just don't think that we're going to need the muzzle with Duke as much, as often, or as critically as I think that we need it with Daisy to be able
Yeah.
to like change how we feel about the situation.
100%. I was like, for me, like I look at them and I'm like, oh, you're still separated. Like it kind of makes me sad. But then I'm the thought of not having that barrier,
Yeah.
right? And like experiencing that again.
Mhm.
I'm just like, no, not a fan.
And that's going to put you in a certain frame of mind when we are trying to reintegrate that is going to have you on edge, which Daisy's going to read as, oh yeah, me too. Like I'm on edge too. I'm ready, mom.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, okay, so then for Duke, again, like I think it is just mostly just that he is more rambunctious than what Daisy would choose for her housemate. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that she doesn't, you know, have some form of doggy love for him, right? Because
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously do, they did have a good relationship before
Mhm.
things turned south. Um, but in order to safely reintegrate them, we put in a lot more structure so that when Duke is not making the choice that we need him to make, we can
Mhm.
really influence him towards that. And regardless of what choice he makes, we make sure Daisy's boundaries aren't crossed. So
Right.
we're going to talk
Okay.
about like getting different kinds of barriers to be able to kind of play around with that. Um, and we'll just slide into the next page, which is the management system. And I just want to compliment you again on how thorough your management is and how I can tell you were not going to let anything fall through the cracks. You were not going to let this happen again by accident. You know what I mean? This is something where, and this type of management is really, really critical. However, even when we are that buttoned up, management fails still happen. Like mistakes
Mhm.
happen, gear breaks, right? Right. Like we can have a gate just totally not hold up.
Mhm.
My cousin has like an 85-pound dog and he wanted to get one of those just pressurized gate. I said, kid, if you do not get hardware and mount that thing in, like there's just no way.
Yeah.
So, even though management is really good and really important to be buttoned up, that's why I think it's really important to step into a solution and actually working on changing the emotions because like crate and rotate is great, but I just know in my experience more often than not, eventually something happens and
Mhm.
we don't want to ever get to that point.
Yeah. And
Okay. So
it's a reaction too. Like we had a situation, I don't know how long ago it was, but like, miscommunication, right? Because there's a lot of people in the house. So
right.
miscommunication, and one dog was here and you know, Duke came down and actually kind of jumped over Daisy, like didn't realize she was there. And I didn't realize that was happening. And my husband didn't realize, you know, it was all of that. And it was like I reacted, like
Yeah.
I screamed. I may think I made the situation worse, but it scared the shit out of me.
Well, yeah, we weren't
So
prepared
yeah,
for that in that
wasn't
moment.
prepared. And I was like, like,
Right. And it's not
can't
like
do that,
anybody
you
like
know?
left a gate open. It's just like things just happen. And that's just life. And when you have, like you said, a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, more
Yeah.
things can happen. So yeah, all the barriers, all the gates, they're really effective and they're really important. And I think that you're doing a phenomenal job with management. And I think that the muzzle training is for sure on the right track. I think that we're definitely at the point where we can kind of accelerate that, especially for Daisy, just because that's what's needed to be able to take the next step, is to get that
Yes.
muzzle training to, you know, the next level. So I would say any and all time dedicated with Daisy is just all about the muzzle, and we integrate the muzzle training into other stuff. So find activities that are her favorite. If it's food luring, great. If it's trick training and teaching her high five and spin, great. We do those in like 20-second sessions with the muzzle on. Now the muzzle is not just, oh, the muzzle goes on and there's treats and the muzzle comes off and there's no treats. The muzzle is a part of this routine that you have with her where you're engaging, you're interacting. It goes on, good things happen, it goes off, things kind of die down for a second. And then we go back in, because both dogs love to interact and engage and train and just do stuff with you. I think the
Yes.
food's part of it, but I think that the people, I think it's really equal for both of them.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Definitely tighten the straps around the neck, because when it's more properly fit, they tend to mess with it less. So you might think in your mind like, oh, tighter is harder. But sometimes when it's like hanging down at the end of their nose and they're like, what is, it just makes them more likely to kind of fidget with it.
Okay.
So I think we're at the point where we can get the straps to close to how they should be and how they would
Okay.
be.
Okay.
I think we could also, at a certain point, once you're really through the muzzle training and get into some of the reintegration exercises, once we judge how much we think Daisy is going to be wearing it, we can discuss if we want to get her a slightly more comfortable muzzle, something that's going to allow more pant room, something that's going to be not like I don't think that she needs like a custom muzzle, but something that has more granular sizing, so we can get one that is going to give the right fit. But again, if she's only wearing it for like 20 to 30 minutes a day, for me, the Baskerville's fine. I think that if they're going to be wearing it more than about 30 minutes a day, you want to look at something that's going to be a little bit more personalized.
Okay.
And the pricing on those at a dog that size, mind you, the brand that I send people to, this brand, I tend to have to send people to them because their dogs are too big for a size 6 Baskerville. They're too big for the biggest Baskerville.
Uh-huh.
So most of like the Mastiffs and Great Danes have to go to this brand. And the pricing for those muzzles is like 70, $80. So I'm imagining her size would be like the 40, 50 kind of a range, which is obviously a lot more than the Baskerville, but less than the 130 that the custom muzzles cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so place is another one. You can combine it with place. I think both of them are pretty active dogs, but Daisy is a little bit more like content to chill. So it might be that it's the opposite. It might be that she doesn't want to wear it and do tricks. Maybe it's just she wants to wear it while she's on place, and then we take it off and we release her, and it becomes more about a chill time. And using the pouches still to just kind of feed her and have her be calm wearing the muzzle. Play with it. Figure out what's going to suit her best. Maybe it's a little bit of both, right? It doesn't ever have to be all or nothing. It could just be that she wears it no matter what we're doing for training, and we just do those really short sessions.
Okay.
Okay, the changes to routine. I definitely want to add in some more structure and create a lot of predictability for them. So you don't have to have like a rigid schedule that you follow, but I like to break the day into chunks and then make the activities that happen within each chunk kind of happen in the same order each day. That way, again, like they know what time things are going to happen. That way we can build up to having their integrated time basically happen at the same time each day. That way it's all predicted, you know what I mean? It's all something that they know exactly what's going to happen. And their integrated time for, I don't want to give a time frame around it, but potentially weeks will be them being across the room, not even interacting at all, right? Like that's the first step, is for them to be in the same room, observing, not reacting, not caring. And for that, we're going to need Daisy to be comfortable wearing the muzzle. And we're going to need Duke to be provided with very, very, very clear alternatives. It's not like, okay, Duke, make good choices. It's like Duke place, right? Duke sit, Duke down. That way Daisy sees, and we're going to set this up in one room. And I think we have two options when we go to set these up on if you could have two humans and one human holds each leash, or you get a tether and you just put a little bracket in the wall, and then Daisy has a leash over there and you can clip her to that, and she's on her place, and we're going to get a little gate to kind of corner her off. That way Duke literally can't enter her space. And then you train Duke, and that's it. She gets to hang out in her palace. She can have, she can have something. Once we're sure Duke's not going to be obsessing over her, we can give her something of high value. She can just chill. Like, her only job at that point is to just like not interact, observe, and to learn that Duke is not going to mess with her. That's it.
Okay.
And that to me would be
build
the
that
first
trust.
step.
Like, I'm good. He's gonna ignore
She doesn't
me.
have to be like worried about it constantly. Like
the hypervigilance
notice
she's been doing. Like,
we're gonna notice one day that she turns her back on him or something and takes a big deep breath, and we're gonna be like, oh, she finally has learned to relax and not, she probably is waiting for him to just pounce. It probably happened enough times that she is just kind of on edge like that. And that is definitely a massive contributing factor as to why her corrections to Duke escalated, because she was getting more and more tense as she was waiting for it and expecting it and didn't want it,
Yeah.
So has Daisy ever had any other dog friends?
Yeah.
And how does she play with them? Like, what is the play style? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, we used to take her to the dog park. She loved it before we got Duke, when she couldn't play with our older dog, because I was like, she cannot wrestle with him. Yeah. So when we would go to the dog park with her, she would just run. She would want to run, and she would like tumble and play. And they were always, I felt like some of the dogs were more aggressive with her. Like, she didn't necessarily want to play aggressively. She just wanted to like run and like, let's go, like chase each other and that kind of.
So do you think that she and Duke, sorry, go ahead.
Even on neighbor, there's a neighbor up the road. And when we take a walk, Daisy is so submissive. She would get lower than the corgi.
Yeah. And be like, hi, my friend, tail wagging.
She was, in the other dogs, she would instantly go on her back with other dogs. I'm like, okay, girl.
Okay.
Don't give up so easy.
So she's a little low confidence too.
Yeah.
So what about Duke? What's Duke's sort of play style? Is he a little bit more physical, a little bit more rough and tumble?
He's physical. He's definitely more, I think, more physical. And he does not like anything to be lorded over him. Like, even us, like if we go to like, especially if he's laying on the couch and it's like nighttime and everything's kind of chill, like he does not like anything to be over him. So even I noticed when they would play, he doesn't, like, I think that's why he reacts to some dogs. Like, we had my friend's dog over a couple years ago, and like the other dog played like where I want to be kind of on, I'm on top, you're on top, and like Duke cannot do
too much.
So he likes to run, like they would always like chase each other, like run circles outside.
So it does like the Lion King, and they would kind of collide and they tumble. And they would run and they would play. Is
that with the neighborhood dog or with Daisy?
Just Daisy. Duke from the very beginning did not like neighborhood dogs. He was hyper. He would get really. What's the word when he would get around any dogs on any dog we've saw?
Well, never on leash. Like he would react to dogs on leash when we would walk them. And so we were like, no, we're not going to do that. And then the couple times we introduced him, I mean, Barley was here
and
when he was little, he was okay. The three of them were okay. We definitely had to monitor. Like, I felt like I couldn't trust Duke because I didn't know what would bother him. Where Daisy was a little bit more easygoing. But she would, even when her and Duke would play, she would like opt out and be like, I'm done.
Right.
And he kind of like
still wants to keep going.
No, it's been interesting with Duke now, with them being separated for so long, that he is giving her space, even if it's just the gate. If like they come in for a walk and Daisy's up on that side of the gate, and like Duke will kind of, there's little stairs there, he'll go up and like see her and be like,
good. I like that. That's becoming his default, is like, I don't want no smoke.
And then the last thing too, at nighttime, because we have them leashed on the couch, is on different ends of the couch.
They each have their own side, so we can hang out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it feels like,
and then we always take Daisy out first and put her in her crate, and he will not move
from the couch.
But he stays like he's absolutely asleep, almost like playing possum. And as soon as she walks into her crate and we close it, he's like, I'm up.
You know, I think that would be the right time of day to do their integrated training, would be right before family sofa time. That way, after we're done their integrated training, we have our family sofa time.
Okay.
And then, because that way, the way that session ends, the same way the night's always ended, right?
Yeah.
I like that, because that's like a small shift.
Integration. Well, and we have like down here in this where the couch is, we have a bed over there in the corner that I showed. Like, we could easily gate that section.
Yeah, and make that be her little space.
That be her little, And if we have a leash already on the couch, and so it reaches over to there, so like she would already be tethered.
Yeah.
If we needed
I think that sounds good. Yeah,
it's definitely a spot, because then we can train Duke kind of over here. She would see him. Yeah. Whatever. She would see him.
I think at first we definitely want to, if possible, have both humans there. So somebody can be, while one of you is training Duke with, honestly, it could be anything. It could be it could be literally anything. And be also constantly paying Daisy at first, the first couple sessions, because Daisy is desensitized to a non-moving Duke. That's what family TV time is, right? Like, a non-moving Duke at the other end of the sofa on a leash is not a worry for her. She's not on guard. A moving Duke is a different situation. And a Duke that's like moving animatedly and excited, she's gonna be like, he's getting too, I can tell. I already know.
Here. I need to discipline him. Like, I need to be in charge, not you guys. Yeah.
So think about keeping the intensity of the energy when you're training Duke as low as possible to start, right? That's how we make it as easy as possible. Duke, sit. Good boy, Duke, right? Instead of like, woohoo, go Duke, right? That's going to make her be like, playground police, you're having too much fun over there. Bring it down. And, hearing you describe their play styles, to me, it does not sound like they have a mismatched play style. It sounds like their play styles actually align pretty well. I think and speculation, I think it has more to do with the fact that Daisy has an off switch and Duke doesn't. And when she wants to be relaxing and off duty, he's still up here, because she doesn't mind if they're if they're both up here and they're playing and it's playtime. But for her, playtime is a small portion of the day, whereas for him, all the time. And I think even potentially him just reacting out on the leash probably annoyed her. Like, dude, shut up, I'm just trying to have my walk. Like, you're making this way more than it needs to be, So I think, do they still walk together on leash, or do we walk them separately?
We walk them separately.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's good for now. Just because I bet Duke's reactions bother her. I bet she's like, oh, this again.
Totally. And she would sometimes correct him on walks. Like, if it was like one person walking both of them, she would be like, enough already. Or she would definitely be on guard, and they would do the whole, like, he wants to be in front, and she would like, right. It was sort of that energy versus like, we're just walking. She could probably feel that when he charged forward, he was more likely to explode. And she was like, no, dude, bring it down. And that's what I'm saying. Like, she probably whispered 100,000 times to him to chill. And when he didn't, it's not that Duke isn't listening. I don't believe that. I think it's Duke's not hearing it, because he's up there, and just whether it's just the arousal, the stimulation, the joy, the reactivity, all of it. It seems like he feels a lot of things. Well, and I noticed too, we hadn't had puppies in a long time. Like, Daisy was our first puppy since we were newly married, like years. And then the difference between the two of them, like, Daisy was like, she could sleep through anything, where Duke, even as a puppy, was like a little noise and he would be like away.
So he just has like a little bit more twitchy of an energy anyway.
Yes, totally.
And that affected her, bringing that into the home.
To me, it's also breed too. Duke is got hound in him. He's got, I gotta be on alert. I gotta chase. Where Daisy's more like, I'm gonna protect and sit and watch. Daisy sometimes goes out in the porch and like a pride, like the lioness. She looks upon her land and she just surveys very calmly. Where Duke is like, oh, I'm gonna circle, make sure we're good, then we're safe. Where Daisy's like, I'm gonna look very calmly and casually. And Duke's like,
does Duke have a really strong prey drive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hounds, man, hounds.
I know. And we back up to the woods. So like literally he's like,
He
there's
sees the
fox, and the
fox, he
fox
sees the
back there
deer.
the other day, he was like, and he just
Yeah.
sits and the fox is like, hey, I
Daisy
mean,
could care less.
but that's why we have a fence plus like the
Electric fence.
and we had to with him because he just
Does he get vocal when he sees prey?
yes.
Okay. Okay. So what I want you to do is, and it's not in the plan, looking at the behavior modification sheet, Duke section, I want you to, that first bullet point where it says Duke's #1 priority is decompression and stationing. I really want to use that and apply that in relation to the prey.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not forever with the stationing, because I find that, you take a dog like Duke, who's already a little tightly wound and he's just seen a prey. So he's up here and then you're like, okay, hold still. That's tough. That's tough. But what I'm suggesting is once he's up here, get him enough distance from that trigger. If it's a window, if it's a door, whatever it is, and then get him to decompress on place. Because the thing with prey drive is that the predatory motor sequence in animals, let's see if I get them in order. Eye, orient, stalk, chase, grab, bite, kill, bite, dissect, consume. Whole predatory motor sequence, right? It's in all animals. Our dogs are not able to complete that full sequence for various reasons. And looking at a hound type dog, they're going to be more focused on the kind of front end of that. Detecting, identify, orient, where is it, and then finding it, right? It's less about kind of the second half of it. And the issue there is that is like an unfulfilling and incomplete cycle. So he's able to, when he can see them through a glass door, he's able to do like 2 or 3 steps of that sequence, and then there's a barrier keeping him from doing anything else. Yes. And then those first couple sequences are designed to ratchet him up a little bit, and then there's nothing to bring him down, because normally at the end of that sequence they eat. And what does eating do? Activates the parasympathetic nervous system, tells you to calm down. He doesn't have that. So we have to find a way to get him distance from that and get some, use a scatter and bring him down, because otherwise he stays up here. And that sounds like he kind of does that a lot anyway.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Cause I just think about him. We have a big picture window in the front. And if there's like, I have a bird feeders out there and like the squirrels will be out there and he'll be like, and I'm
let's have our first goal with him is not to have him not react to those things. It's to decrease the amount of time it takes for him to cool it after. You get what I'm saying? We're trying to accelerate how quickly he decompresses.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think he's just kind of
with food then, like if he's on the couch and he's doing, because sometimes it's hard, he won't even listen to me. Like
start having him wear a leash. Start just having him wear the leash for now. That way you can just grab the leash and direct him over that way, like really easily.
Okay. Great.
I would, if he, you can definitely do a find it scatter. You can practice that when there's no trigger, right? When he's just looking out the window. Duke, find it and do a scatter in the kitchen. He's gonna be like, absolutely, and come running to the kitchen. You get enough muscle memory of that. Even if he sees something and hears Duke find it and then hears kibble hit the floor, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
He does it outside. So the last thing at night, they go outside, potty before bed. And occasionally there's something out there and he won't come in. And I'm like, come on, Duke, and I use touch, and he'll like, if there's nothing going on, I can't see him, I yell touch. He's like in the door, he's getting a treat. He's like, this is the best thing ever. When there's something out there and he's reared up,
you got to go all the way.
I got to go out there and like get hit like, hey,
it's like, hey, eyeballs.
Yeah. I think that prey drive is definitely like the loudest thing to him is going to be his prey drive. So we definitely want to build up just any skills in terms of like him choosing you over the prey. So that means being out there with him on a leash when that happens, kind of knowing, all right, there's probably going to be an animal out there tonight. So I'm going to clip the leash on. We're going to go out together. I'm going to have a handful of treats and I'm going to start paying him to look at me before I think he's even going to notice that. Right. And then once he does notice it, try and use that food to draw him back to you while you're still attached to him with the leash. Because to your point, he's definitely not going to come inside when there's something exciting outside if he couldn't even give you eye contact in that moment. If he couldn't even angle his body from the thing to you, then he's definitely not going to come inside. So I would say just kind of practice that. Just go out with them, spend 3 minutes getting some eye contact and hand feeding. And then once you're sure that there's not going to be something, that's going to like really pull him away from you. Unclip him, head in, let him do his business and call him into you, and almost make being calm and giving you that little bit of focus the first step of the last potty break. I mean, I know it's late and sometimes that can be a lot, and you can decide, you know, hey, that's not actually that important to us. We're just gonna deal with it, or we're just gonna put him on a leash because we don't want to train at 10 o'clock at night. You know, it's whatever makes sense for you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's so yes. And then just teaching him, like I said, to use the stationing. So using his bed as like a decompression zone. So we're going to do that. The best way to start that is with something that is going to escalate him, but in a really fun way. So play. So the very, very first thing I want you to start with Duke while you're working on the muzzle with Daisy is we play, we get hype, we go to place, we calm down.
Okay.
We play, we get hype, we go to place, we calm down. Once you see him like really chill on the place bed, you're going to release him. And I do have that full protocol. Yeah, the place for decompression. It's the very, very last page. So that's going to explain exactly what you want to do in terms of just getting him to calm down on that bed. So we just like form this pattern. Duke gets escalated, we go to place, you calm down, you get released. And we use like tug or fetch or something like I said, fun. That's going to get him hype, get him to like a 7. But it's not a reaction. He hasn't been triggered. It's a little bit easier to calm down from the happy emotions than the frustrated or, you know, nervous ones. Again, the reintegration sessions that we're working up towards are, we have to have the muzzle with Daisy at just a slightly, although saying that, if we have 2 people, I feel far less that we absolutely have to have the muzzle on for that session. I always like to have 2 levels of management when we're doing integration sessions. So that could be the leash and the muzzle, or that could be the leash and the gate, right? If you get the gate and put the bed back there and have the leash on, then we don't really need the muzzle because we already have a leash and a gate. Like we feel confident that they're not going to meet each other.
Yeah.
And a leash on Duke as well, obviously. Now, if you wanted to be able to get to the point where it was just one of you, that's where I would say like, okay, let's tether and put the muzzle on, because now we've got an extra level of safety. And especially once we get to the point where that barrier, that gate is going to go away, that's where the muzzle's necessary.
What kind of gate? So, do you have a recommendation on?
Yeah, I'll send you a link, just like an X pen, just like a standard X pen. Sometimes on Facebook Marketplace, you can find really cheap, like, plastic panels from like an old baby pen where you could get like 3 or 4 of those would probably be enough. Daisy's if she really wanted out, she would just hop over it. Like it's not to keep her in, it's to show her, this is your boundary. We will not let Duke cross this. Okay. This is your safe space. And when you're behind it, ain't no one going to mess with you.
Okay. More
so
like
doesn't have to be
boundary, just like her crate. Like she knows when she's in there and when he's in his crate, she definitely feels better.
Exactly. Yep. And then eventually we remove the boundary, but the sentiment stays the same, that she has this bubble, right? We are creating a physical bubble so she can see it, so Duke can see it, so everyone can see it. And then when it goes away, the respect of that boundary stays.
Okay.
I know we are running low on time. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that was a lot.
Very informational.
Yeah, good. Very helpful.
And obviously you still have tons of access to us. So if you think of any questions, just drop them in. You can type them in, you can film yourself. We're going to do a small mini pack or a short mini pack with me and Jerri before we put you into the 3 months of the Tulsa Pack aftercare. So you'll do a 6-day period with Jerri and I, where you're submitting videos every day. So that'll really help us get the ball rolling. We have one more person that I think still needs to do her mini pack, and we're just doing one at a time. So I'll get you the dates soon, but it'll be, in the next month.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. That's no problem. So we'll just work on this stuff for now and then ask any questions, give you feedback, make videos, whatever. Hey, this is working, not working. And then you'll let us know next steps. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. You're going to hear from me soon with those mini pack dates.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye. You too. Bye. Unpacked was created by Jerri Scherff and Mattison Simpson and edited and produced by Josh Wasta under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk LLC and Emily Breslin. See you next time.